guys, I'm Liz Doodler, and today's video is going to be another talking video, and in this particular talking video I am going to be talking about the top tips that I've compiled that might help you guys in your arts, whether you are just starting out or you have done art for quite some time now. So without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so to kick off this commentary, I am going to begin with tip number 1, which is draw what you want to draw. Now, I understand this may be difficult for some of you who do art as a career and you might be working for someone regarding your art, or you are doing commissions. And that is totally understandable because you are doing art as a request. Like the person is requesting a specific kind of art, for example. Now, what I suggest for this kind of scenario is that you do it in your own style and that you do it in like your own unique way. Like, put your own little twist into whatever the person is requesting, and hopefully you will gain more enjoyment from this. But if you are doing art as just a hobby, or you are doing art recreationally, which is basically the same thing, just literally do what you want. You can draw a bunch of scribbles, or you can draw still life. As long as you are gaining enjoyment from it, do what you want and draw what you want to draw. Alright, now tip number 2 is probably something you might have heard of at least 1,000,000 times in your life, but I am going to say it regardless because I believe it is a relevant part of drawing, doodling and painting and art in general. And this tip is practice makes perfect. Practice what you are struggling at and you will see improvements. And I literally cannot stress this enough, as once you keep on doing something you are struggling at, eventually you won't struggle at it as much because you will have improved on that particular thing. And that is the miracle of practicing. And this doesn't just apply to art. This literally applies to pretty much every aspect of life. And that is another reason why I cannot stress this tip enough, because it is universal in the way it can be applied. Okay, so tip number 3 is actually quite similar to tip number 1, but it is also very different. So tip number 3 is use whatever kind of equipment you feel comfortable with. Whether you are comfortable just painting, or whether you are more comfortable using pencils or markers, or whether you are just comfortable using digital art. That's completely fine. Any kind of equipment is fine. It is your art and no one should have to judge you in your art unless you are working for a company or doing commissions, like I said, and the person may request you do a particular kind of art, maybe using a specific paint or something like that. I've not really heard of this happening, but this is just an example. And another example where this tip might not be able to be applied is if you are doing art challenges, such as the Sharpie challenge or the 3 marker challenge, for example. But other than those examples, use whatever kind of equipment you feel comfortable with. Like I said, it is your art. You do what you want, basically. Tip number 4. Take your time whilst you are doing art. Now, this might be also difficult to do if you are working on a piece that has to be done by a certain time. So, for example, if you had to produce a painting by next Friday or the following Monday or whatever. That would be one instance where you would have to rush your art or plan your time accordingly. But if you are not in that scenario, you can just take your time doing your art, and you don't have to worry about rushing it, as if you rush it, it could drastically decrease the quality of your art, which I'm sure you don't want. Tip number 5. Don't compare yourself or your talents to other people. Now, if you haven't watched last week's video, you won't know that I too have done this. I am guilty as well for doing the opposite to this tip, and I am sure that at least everyone who has been interested in art at least has done this as well in some point in their art career or in their hobby. And that is a normal thing to do, but it is how you do it that could potentially affect your art. If you are comparing yourself positively to a piece of art, for example, you are seeing how different your style is to that artist, or you are seeing what colours they have used and what the focus is of that piece, and if you are gaining inspiration from this piece of art, then that type of comparison is completely okay, as you are positively comparing yourself to that of other artists, and you are not devaluing your work in any way. However, there is also negative comparison, and what I mean by that is why this 5th tip is even in this video in the first place. If you are negatively comparing yourself to other artists, so for example, if you thought that you needed to get better at doing something which may be completely trivial, such as your style, or if you think that you are rubbish at something, that type of comparison could potentially be unhealthy for your work, let's say. You could potentially lose motivation for doing art, and you could lose your confidence in your art abilities, and as a result, you could potentially either not do as much art as you had wished to do, or the quality of your work could suffer. So if you don't compare yourself negatively or your talents to other people, the negative side effects won't happen, pretty much. And finally, tip number 6, make sure to have fun in your art, because art at the end of the day should be something you enjoy, not something that is stressing you out or tiring you out to the extent that it's severely affecting you. And if you have fun in your art, you will become more motivated to actually do art, and just having fun in general is really beneficial for art. And this also just doesn't apply to art, it applies to every hobby you may or may not do. Like in every hobby or in every career, you have to have at least a little bit of enjoyment, because if you don't, it could have detrimental side effects to yourself, emotionally and mentally and physically and stuff. And yeah, so having fun in art is so important. I literally cannot stress enough, like the second tip, the importance of having fun with not just art, but with anything in general. So, to end this video, I hope you guys have fun with your art. But seriously, in all seriousness, we are actually nearing the end of the video now, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to click that like button, and if you have any suggestions as to what you want me to draw, doodle, paint, or talk about in one of my talking videos, make sure to comment underneath the description below, as I read and appreciate every single one of your comments. And if you like what you see and you want to see more, make sure to click that subscribe button. Also, make sure to check out all of the members of the Elemental team, because all of them have been producing some pretty awesome content that you really should check out, and they would really appreciate it as well. So yeah, with all of this said and done, I will see you guys next Friday for another art video. Goodbye!